Namaskar. Dear friends, it is really a happy evening for me. We have just concluded the campaigning for the first phase of the general election. I would like to thank the WMG group for giving me this opportunity to be a bit reasonable in my speech today, this evening. You know how campaigns run. We will be more rhetorical there, less reasonable. But this is a refreshing change for me. I heard, since I am standing in front of a group of professionals, obviously I have to be reasonable. And you are the group which actually, in a way, implements the policies that we make in the government. So you know how to implement them. It also obviously includes you know how to bypass them. So this is a very important group when it comes to talking about any agenda that any government has. For next 20 or 25 minutes, I will speak about not exactly about the numbers, the data, because that is always available in the public domain. You know, in any case, I am one person who has always been skeptical about data. As it is said, lies, more lies and statistics. But I will try to throw some light on the direction in which we have tried to take this country in the last 5 years as a government. Friends, no country can aspire to be great with faulty basics. If your very basics, very fundamentals are not sound, you can dream of anything because there is no control over dreams. But you can never achieve greatness. So one of the very first objectives of Prime Minister Modi was to try and set some of the basics of this country right. Now, for example, a country with so much corruption can never become a great country. So you have to do everything possible in your hands to bring transparency, to bring honesty. So you have seen the last 5 years of our government. It's one thing to say that it is a clean government, non-corrupt government. Prime Minister Modi himself is a non-corrupt leader. But just being a non-corrupt person is not enough. Everybody is non-corrupt as long as there is no opportunity to be corrupt. The previous Prime Minister, Dr. Manmohan Singh, I'm sure you will agree with me that you cannot call him a corrupt leader. Maybe because he never had that opportunity, it was there somewhere else. But with Mr. Modi, the important aspect as far as fight against corruption is concerned is that he is one leader who is incorruptible. You know, this incorruptibility is a very, very important quality that we need to have in our public leadership. Once the top man is incorruptible, then you can actually allow that honesty, that transparency to flow downwards in the system. I remember Prime Minister Narasimha Rao, although he had lots of charges of corruption against him, he said something very interesting in the parliament one day. He said that, see, if you want to really fight this menace of corruption in this country, you have to start it from the top. You cannot say that you catch hold of a clerk in some small tehsil center taking a bribe of 500 rupees and have a news item in papers that in our fight against corruption, we have captured a clerk in a tehsil center. I'm not saying you should spare them. But what about somebody sitting in Vidhan Saudha in Bengaluru and taking 5,000 crores? Or somebody sitting in Delhi's this block or that block and taking much more. So this has to be eradicated from the top. But then Narasimha Rao ji said something interesting additionally. He said, you see, corruption has to be eradicated from the top. But values have to be created at the bottom. You have to create a grassroots leadership which cannot be corrupted. Steel frame, made of that stuff, incorruptible stuff. In Modi, we have a leader who has grown from a grassroots value system of incorruptibility. This has helped. You see, it's again, point number 2 as far as corruption is concerned is, it's not just enough for you to be non-corrupt. You have to cleanse this system. In India, over the decades, the system has become utterly corrupt. We have mastered the art of corruption. I remember as a young man in Janata Party government, the first ACB, anti-corruption bureaus, came into existence during the Janata Party regime because it was felt that businessmen are all looters, they are corrupt. There should be some government arrangement to, arrest the corruption of the, traders. Koi kalti karta hai, koi ye karta hai. We have to control that. By the time, 10 years down the line, by the time VP Singh became the Prime Minister, it was realized that there is a lot of corruption in ACB. Then came what is famously known as Vigilance Department. The purpose of Vigilance Department was to arrest corruption within the governance system, within the bureaucracy, within the administration, the corruption. For it to be controlled, you needed a Vigilance Department. And I urge all of you to recall, in 2003 or 2004, the Supreme Court of India had asked the then government to remove the Chief Vigilance Commissioner on corruption charges. He was the CVC of India. The reason is, you have, over the years, you have created systemic corruption. Friends, we are fighting against that corruption also. The system needs to be transparent. How do you create that? Number one, you have to really encourage honest, good people in the system. They have to come forward. They have to be pushed up. Not easy in bureaucracy. If there are any bureaucrats, don't mistake me for saying this. In fact, in one of his latest speeches, Prime Minister has alluded to it. He said, why I am taking so much time? Because I have to wait for some people to retire. Habituated. A vested interest develops in the system. It perpetuates it. Because the change that is needed to be brought in has to be brought in by those very same people who are going to be affected by the change. So we have a challenge at the level of tackling the human resources. But at another level, technology became very handy. Today with technology, if you properly use it, for example, this one jam Trinity, that we have put in place in last 5 years. It took some time. Jan Dhan, covering almost 33 crore poor Indians who are the real beneficiaries of all the government schemes. Jan Dhan. Aadhaar, which is the basic identity, we have been able to extend that basic identity card to 92% Indians. And India's mobile coverage today is about 91% mobile densities. So linking these three, a bank account through Jan Dhan, a personal identity, uniform identity card called Aadhaar card, and third is the mobile services. Using this JAM Trinity, we have tried to bypass the systemic corruption by using what we call as DBT, direct benefit transfer. You will be, some of you might be knowing about it already, but you will be surprised to know that when our government came into power, we tried to look into a number of governmental schemes that are supposed to be benefiting the poor people of this country. There are schemes for widows, there are schemes for old age people, there are schemes for poor students, there are schemes for SCs, there are schemes for STs, there are schemes for pregnant women. Dozens of schemes are there for all the sections of the society. You will be shocked to know when the government tried to go deeper into the beneficiaries, we realized that there are some 70-80 million people, 7-8 crore people who are getting government benefits year after year, month after month, but either they are not born or not living. They are getting student scholarships, but they don't exist. They are getting widow pensions, they don't exist. They get pregnant pensions, they are not there, neither the children. Look, that was the extent of systemic corruption. The money was going somewhere. The savings for the government, when the government decided to stop the benefits to these 7-8 crore people, was 1 lakh crore per annum. How much good work a government can do with 1 lakh crore in its hands? But that was the extent of corruption. Now, with one Jan Dhan-Aadhaar-Mobile Trinity, JAM Trinity, we could arrest one major source of this illegal, this corrupt activity. One channel. That's the reason why I would ask you, we all have our own identity cards. You will be having ration card, driving license. These are identity cards. Would anybody go to court against me having that identity card? People say, what's your problem? It's just an identity card. Mr. Kapil Sibal went right up to Supreme Court against the Aadhaar card. What is the real problem with Aadhaar card? It's just a basic identity card. Supreme Court has said, okay, don't make it mandatory. But the real problem is, this is how you are checking this channel. You are choking this channel. This systemized corruption. So friends, one major fight that we have launched was to cleanse the corruption right at the top level, at the governance level, at the leadership level, but also in the system. Secondly, the figures vary. I have seen figures from 12% to 26-27%. India used to have parallel economy running. Never accounted for, never seen in the government's official data. Demonetization was one attempt to curb this activity of parallel economy in this country, which probably some people call as black money also. I would say, okay, Indians are very intelligent people. IQ of an average Indian is anyway much higher compared to IQ of any other person in the world. So they have successfully deposited 99.2% or something. That's what the Reserve Bank data says. 99.2% of the running currency back into the bank. So we were hoping that of this 25% or whatever parallel economy running unaccounted for money that is in the market, probably some 2-3 lakh crores will never return. The government will be richer by 2-3 lakh crores. But we ended up with 60,000 crores. But the point remains that today the economy is more clean. It's cleaner. It's transparent. It's there in the banks, it's there in the account books. Okay, people have used different ways and different means to deposit their money. That will be looked into. Agencies will do their job. But you have a better, clean economic environment in the country. Third is the question of rule abidingness. No country can aspire to be great with people violating every rule and nobody is there to punish them, nobody is there to ask them, just impunity. A country of India's size, 1.3 billion people, with a taxpayer base of not even 30 million. And out of the 30 million, 27 million will submit zero return, what is it called? Zero tax returns. Is it really true? I mean, not to offend anybody, I once jokingly said, although some people got offended, but I am urging not to get offended. It's on a lighter side I am saying. You know, it is said that behind every successful man, there's a woman. So behind every corrupt man, there is a chartered accountant. It's not that chartered accountants are bad. We have created a system where, you know, this has become, nobody will punish you, so why not? He is doing, why not you? From there we try to bring some kind of order, some kind of rule abidingness. The result is today you have a larger taxpayer base and people are happy, those who are paying taxes are happy, and obviously government is happy with excess revenues, lot of extra money for doing good to the country. So friends, some such basics have been the major thrust areas for us. Secondly, the whole attitude of the people has to change. You know, after the independence, after we became independent in 1947, Nehruji had an interesting speech to give in which he told the countrymen that, look, we have struggled for so many years, we have fought the British for so many years, we have faced bullets, we have faced deaths, we had so much suffering. Now that we have become independent, you don't have to suffer anymore. You no longer have to, you know, go to jail, you no longer have to face lathis, you no longer have to face bullets. You just have to lead a happy life as the citizens of an independent nation. We are giving you certain rights. Enjoy those rights. As far as the work that needs to be done for the country is concerned, leave it on us. We are there. The government is there to take care of what needs to be done for the country. He said it in a very good spirit. I mean, he did not mean anything else just than to tell people that, okay, now that you are an independent nation, enjoy the life as an independent citizen. Probably we understood it differently. We thought that, okay, all right, now that we have become independent, whatever this country needs is the job of either the MLAs, MPs and ministers or the military. They have to take care of the country. I don't have any role in this. You know, there used to be a funny, kind of a slogan. Raghupati Raghava Rajaram, Pura Vetan Adha Kam. We have these rights. You demand the rights. Forget about your obligations, forget about responsibilities. Prime Minister Modi has tried to change this mindset. He said that you cannot remain as mere citizens about the people. You cannot remain as mere voters. You will vote once in 5 years, try to elect a leader whom you like, and then think that, okay, he will take care of my country and my policies, my affairs. You have to become stakeholders. He used to, I mean, I'm sure some of you might have heard him referring to Gandhiji's trusteeship concept. That we are all trustees of this nation. That was Gandhiji's concept. But what Prime Minister Modi did was to tell people that you are stakeholders of this whole development story. You cannot be mere spectators standing outside. That's why the whole effort has been to make people run their own affairs. It's not to allow people to perpetually remain at the mercy of the government, friends. Look at the policies before Modi came in. The policies always used to be targeted at making people live at the mercy of the governments. I tell you, I come from Andhra Pradesh. Mr. Rajashekar Reddy as Chief Minister has introduced a policy of paying 1,000 rupees to old age people as pension. Old age poor. Now, in 2007, 2008, old age poor did not have access to any bank account. They did not have any bank account. So how do you give this money? So the system devised was the money from the district office will go to the village government, which is Tehsildar or Munsaf or whatever is the village government. That man will personally hand over the currency notes to each village old people. Do you need any better way for corruption than this? Because you have forced the people to live at the mercy of your system. Modi ji said no. People have to be stakeholders. It is their country, their money, their responsibility. So this stakeholder concept is a very important concept for many of our programs and policies. Because this stakeholdership has led to another very important change that we try to bring in, that of dignity. You know, these days we all talk about empowerment. Empowering the scheduled castes, empowering the scheduled tribes, empowering women. Noble concept. By empowering, what we meant was that, providing them opportunities of better livelihood, better jobs, better work. But what Modi ji did was, empowerment is only one level. You have to go beyond that. Today, the urge is not just for empowerment. Today, there are a few women in this audience. If I try to give a lecture on women empowerment, they will stand up and say, what are you talking? Who are you to empower me? I'm already empowered. Friends, same is the discourse in all the sections today. If you try and tell them that I am empowering you, it is seen as condescension, humiliation, insult. Who are you? Modi ji said, empowerment is only a technical level. What is needed is dignity. Friends, in last 7 decades, all that we thought was, if we give something to people, either to feed them or to so-called empower them, our job is done. In 21st century, if India were to become great, you have to accord dignity to the last man on the street. He has to have a dignified life. So that is where Modiji's greatest contribution is today. Now, to begin with, look at this whole Chokidar campaign. People may call it melodramatic initiative. People may try and criticize it. But by making a doctor, an engineer, a professional, a businessman, a teacher, a student stand up and say, I am also a Chokidar. The subtle message is that every profession, whether it is high rung or low rung, has its own dignity. Today, the country no longer looks down upon people doing probably menial jobs. After all, a country, a citizen needs dignity today. And the urge is no longer for empowerment, charity, government doles. No. The urge is for dignity, dignified life. I just give you 2-3 examples of how we try to extend dignity to the last man on the street. Look, the Swachh Bharat campaign. People thought it is a campaign for clean India, which it is. But friends, if it is just about cleaning up India, all that government needed to do was to grant more funds to municipalities and made stricter rules, stricter benchmarks for them to clean up their localities, their public places, be it railway stations or be it schools or be it anything. It's much more than that. Probably you all know that pre-Swachh Bharat in our country, in rural India, 60% of the population did not have access to clean toilets. The result especially was worst on women. For their natural calls, they had to go out because no toilet. Go out in the dark, either before sunrise or after sunset. And the data showed that that is when maximum atrocities against women in rural India happened. That is where women were afflicted with diseases. And I came across a very interesting data. In rural India, before 14, a boy child used to drop out of the school. By the time he reaches grade 10, 9, 10, tab tak wo aa gaya, 9th class, 10th class, he will drop out. Why? By then he would know about Archimedes, he would know about Pythagoras, he would know about Einstein, but he wouldn't know how to repair his cycle or how to repair his electric switch in his hut. So he finds by 10 o'clock that by 10th grade that what do I do with this schooling? So I better go back and learn these skills from my father. Then at least I will have my livelihood. But do you know, the girl child used to drop out at grade 6. The simple single reason being there were no toilets for girl child in our schools. Now by the time a girl child becomes 10, 11 years old, it's mandatory. We have not, this whole neglect of this very fundamental thing has led to atrocities against women, subjecting women to diseases, depriving them of education. And one Swachh Bharat campaign has sought to address this fundamental question of dignity. And I was in Madhya Pradesh. One day, a few months ago, I was in Madhya Pradesh. In local Hindi paper, there was a picture on the front page of a newly married couple. Normally, newly married couple, when they take pictures, they take it while doing Sat Fere, those 7 steps, or maybe at the reception. But this was a little peculiar that this boy and girl in their marriage dress, in their attire, were standing next to a toilet. That was the pictures. I was a little intrigued. I read the news item. And the news item said something interesting. The boys' side went to the girls' side to finalize the marriage. They wanted, we have this nasty bad practice of dowry. They demanded some dowry. The girl said that it is not correct. I will only agree to marry you if you use that money that you are taking from my father to build a toilet at your house, at your home. Then only I will come and I will marry you and I will come to your house. That boy was probably enamored of that girl, so he took that money and then he probably added his own money. He built a toilet, then the marriage was solemnized and this girl insisted that first photograph should be standing next to the toilet. So toilets have become maybe not empowerment, but question of dignity. My honor, my dignity, my self-respect. Why we said that we need Skill India? Precisely the reason is you can't leave your youth at the mercy of employment exchanges. They need to have skills to stand on their own feet. We launched this Startup India campaign, Stand Up India campaign. Under Stand Up India, Prime Minister said from 50,000 to 15 lakhs, a young man from scheduled caste, scheduled tribe or women, one of these sections, they can access bank loans. Normally, banks lend only when you have some counter guarantee, something to, what they call as girvi. But Prime Minister said, for me, this young man or young woman, he or she is my guarantee. I don't need any counter guarantee. And today we have extended that scheme in our election promise. We said, we will now, it's not going to be just 15 lakhs, it will be 50 lakhs. You can take up to 50 lakhs without providing any counter guarantee. Because we trust our young men. You have to trust your people. But he said, take this money, try and stand on your own feet. And I can tell you, so far, 70 million stand-up loans have been sanctioned. 7 crore loans have been sanctioned. And I came across a number of examples. One boy, handicapped boy, I met him in Assam. This boy took 3 lakhs. You see, in this stand-up loans, something very surprising is that the returns, return in the sense that payback to the banks is almost 100%. Where you are not even taking any counter guarantee, there this boy will take 3 lakh rupees, start his business. In 1 year he will return this 3 lakhs and try for 5 lakh additional loan. Maybe when I say 70 million, there could be double, triple loans also, I don't deny that. But you are creating an environment where people stand on their own feet. They are no longer dependent. A job seeker is today becoming a job creator. I have read the story of a young man who was doing his BA in Haryana. He one day saw his father, he always used to see his father struggling in the field, 1 acre small land holding. He would toil the whole day. Even if he had hired a tractor, still the tractor he has to run in hot sun. This boy took 150,000 rupees from a bank under Innovate India scheme, developed a remote tractor wheel, and he spent 100,000 rupees, 1 lakh rupees. Remote tractor wheel, so that his father can sit happily under a tree next to his field and run his tractor remotely in the field. It is here that the question of dignity comes in, friends. When we said minimum government, maximum governance, which government wants to have minimum control? Politicians by nature, by very character, want to have all the control. But we said no, you have to have only minimum control. You have to treat people as stakeholders. Let them run their affairs. You be only a facilitator. Now the whole concept, the whole scheme is towards that. One last point I flag and end. If India were to be a great nation, you have to behave like a great nation. A nation with 1.3 billion population, but very reticent. You are always seen as a very, timid nation. To hide your timidity, to hide your reticence, you have romantic ideas. There is no alternative to peace. There is no alternative to talks. Dialogue is the only way. Who said? Read Chanakya. He never said dialogue is the only way. But we are a great nation. But somehow the leadership was convinced that it is better to be romantic than strong. We said, no, in terms of nation's security, the whole doctrine has to change. India cannot be a reticent nation in its relations with its neighborhood or in its relations globally. You have to be a proactive nation. You have to be a strong nation, and your strength should be visible. Although, for a country like India, the stronger it becomes, the better it will be for the world. The reason being, every nation has a culture, has a soul. The soul is the value system, which that nation imbibes very naturally. Germans don't laugh. Jocularly say, people. Don't laugh with, it's not that they really don't laugh. There is a trait. If a German is alone, he will have the world map in front of him and look for the weak nations, look for weak countries. When the second German joins, together they start planning aggression on that weak country. The moment the third fellow joins, they will actually start the aggression. It's there in the genes. I remember when two Germanys were united in 1989, world did not celebrate. World was scared. What will happen with united Germany? I'm not saying anything bad about Germany. I'm generally just giving an example about the traits of nations, value systems of nations. Britishers, handful of them. Businessmen went all over the world, built an empire on which the sun had never set. How many of them have gone out? Handful of businessmen. It was there in the genes. Similarly, Indians have their own unique value system. So the stronger India becomes, it's good for the world. Sometimes people criticize us as fundamentalists. BJP, RSS, we are fundamentalists. I tell them jocularly, I am proud to be a fundamentalist because the fundamentals of this country are Sarvem Sukhinas Santu, let everybody be happy. Krunvanto Vishwaryam, let us ennoble the world. Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, let the whole world be a one family. These are my fundamentals, so I want to be a fundamentalist. Because my fundamentals are so good. My fundamentals are so noble. But you also have to be strong. So we introduced this doctrinal shift in our foreign policy, in our security policy, whereby today nobody calls India a reticent nation. We are proactive. We are there everywhere. We are there in G20. We are there even in G8. And we are consulted on everything. The OPEC countries, while wanting to revise the oil prices, they had one call made to Washington, the other call was made to Delhi, to find out if it is okay to increase this rate of the crude by $1 or $2. Never was India consulted before, although we were one of the highest energy consuming countries in the world. Because you no longer are a country to be dismissed. And there was a time 5 years ago when every day, no single year used to pass without a terror incident in Bengaluru, in Mumbai, in Pune, in Hyderabad, in Delhi. Your schools were not safe. Your hotels were not safe. Your buses were not safe. Your trains were not safe. Your Holi was not safe. Your Diwali was not safe. And every time we hear that Pakistani terrorists have infiltrated into India and indulged in such acts. You have seen 5 years of terror-free India. Not only that, from a time when Indians used to fear about Pakistani terrorists infiltrating on our soil and attacking us in cities, in hotels, in buses and in trains, we are infiltrating into their houses and neutralizing them there. They are afraid of us today. So, a nation's honor, it's as important as the dignity of an individual. So we said that if India were to become great, you have to also behave great. You have to behave like one, as a strong country, as a powerful country. So friends, apart from innumerable things in economy, today 7.2 and all those things, I don't want to go into all those details because most of you would be knowing about those things. Some very fundamental things that this country needed for it to become a great nation in 21st century is what we tried to do in the last 5 years. Setting certain fundamentals right, making people's partners in our journey, not just spectators, not just beneficiaries, not just citizens, not just voters, but partners, stakeholders, and making India behave in right sense, in good sense. But this is the kind of transformation we have tried to bring in last 5 years. Let me end by saying one thing. No government can be perfect, friends. Maybe we have certain shortcomings. Maybe we have not done enough to satisfy every Indian. But we are in the right direction. And when we go to the people, not necessarily here, but until 4 o'clock today, what I was doing is, that's the reason why give us one more chance. Thank you.